First of all, I do want to emphasize that we will have bear markets again. I mean, many people in the media and in politics say, no, everything is okay now. That is totally incorrect. We have always had bear markets, and we all over the world, and we always will. So we are going to have more bear markets in the future. I hope we both live long enough to see many bear markets. I hope we live a long time. But I don't know when. I would suspect that the next one will be sometime in 2021. It might be extended to 2022. But the markets have been going up for over 10 years. This has never happened. Certainly in America, it's never happened in history. And right now we have governments everywhere, especially in the US, printing and borrowing and spending a lot of money. But all politicians are doing it everywhere. So there's a bubble developing in some markets and in some industries, but it's not a complete bubble yet, at least the way I look at it. Some industries, some stocks are in a bubble, but many stocks are still down. Throughout history, whenever there's a theory that's lying around and hard times come, many people say, hey, that's a good idea. Let's try that. It's bad, let's try it. And right now we have MMT, more money today. And everybody wants more money today. It sounds wonderful. It sounds easy. But I would remind you, Mr. Marx had a great theory. It sounded wonderful. People tried it. Nobody wants to be a Marxist anymore. We now know it doesn't work. But that doesn't mean people didn't try it, because it sounded good for a long time. So as things get worse, more money today, we'll probably get more people who want to try it. The British already are doing it. They don't say it officially that they're doing it. But in practice, they're doing the same thing. So I'm afraid, or who cares what I'm afraid of, I suspect we're probably going to have more people signing up for more money today, because it sounds easy and it's good. And it might well work for a while. And the history's full of theories that didn't work in the end, but worked for a while and that people loved. But if more money today becomes the practice, things are going to look better for a while, but then eventually you better own your gold and silver, because, it's very clear that if you print too much money, the value of the money goes down. I was still waiting, pessimistic about the price of gold. As you may remember, I started buying gold in the summer of 2019, as I was pretty clear about to many people, and I have been buying gold since. Not buying it at the moment, waiting for it to go down. Right now, a lot of people are being forced to sell their gold to eat. India's the largest gold market in the world, and a lot of Indians have to sell their gold. So, but somewhere along the line, I'm going to buy more gold and more silver. I'm sure I'll get the timing wrong. I always do. But I will certainly buy more gold and more silver. I probably will buy more silver now, just because silver is cheaper on a historic basis, but I buy more of both. I'll buy more of both. Gold is going to go up. Gold is going to get overpriced in the next turmoil as we go along here, certainly in the next few years. And that's fine. That's great. What I'm afraid of is, no, not afraid, but what may happen is that gold turns into a bubble. Now, if it becomes a bubble, I'll have to sell, because you always have to sell a bubble, because when bubbles pop, it's disaster for a long, long, long time. So I hope gold doesn't turn into a bubble, because I don't want to sell. I want my children to have my gold someday. But other than that, I plan for all of my gold and silver to go to my children someday. Bubble is when it's going up every day by big numbers and everybody's buying it and all people are talking about is gold. Yeah, there was some of that back in 2011, September, but no, that was not a bubble. I've seen many bubbles and read about many bubbles in my life all over the world, and that was a period of exuberance, overpriced, but that was not a bubble. They can certainly print and buy bonds they have more money than I do. The Bank of Japan, the Bank of America, the Federal Reserve in the U.S. have more money than I do. So certainly they can keep interest rates low for a while. And if we turn into MMT, more money today, of course, that will keep interest rates low for a while, help them keep interest rates low for a while. But if something's too good to be true, it's not true. Eventually, the truth comes out. So, but yes, we may see low interest rates for longer, but the debt keeps going higher and higher and higher. And nobody has repealed the laws of supply and demand yet. They cannot. And if you print gigantic amounts of debt, or if you raise gigantic amounts of debt, interest rates eventually will go higher. First of all, because there's too much supply, and second, because some people start to say, wait a minute, how are they going to pay this off? Some people will question the credit. Well, that's my point. There will come a time when there's just too many treasuries. People will be worried about, oh my gosh, how are they going to pay this off? And or there's so many treasuries, it just overwhelms the market. If they just keep pouring treasuries into the market, but it's not just treasuries. The Japanese, the English, everybody's doing it. Huge numbers of debts coming from bonds coming and debts coming from everywhere. So it's not just the U.S. Treasury. First of all, you need to understand nothing is safe. Yes, and sometimes some things are less unsafe than other things, but there's no such thing in the investment world as safe. History will come along and prove it to you over and over again. So now, yes, at the moment, certainly, bonds are clearly in a bubble. Interest rates have never been this low in the history of the world, ever. It doesn't mean bonds can't go higher. It just means we're certainly in a bubble in the bond market. Stocks, the U.S. stock market is at an all-time high. Doesn't mean it's a bubble. In fact, it's not some parts of the U.S. market may be in a bubble, but the whole market is not. So as I look around the world, the only asset class, I don't see any currencies in a bubble. The only and commodities are the cheapest asset class all over the world. I mean, commodities are down a whole lot. So as I look at the world, commodities are the cheapest, and maybe that is a less unsafe haven. Maybe silver, silver's down 60% from its all-time high. Well, that's not overpriced. That's not a bubble. Something that's down 60% from its all-time high is clearly not a bubble. But safe? I don't know anything safe. Bear markets don't go on forever, and bull markets don't go on forever, no matter what country, what asset class, etc. So will Apple someday go down? Yes, believe it or not. Will Google someday go into a bear market and maybe even disappear? Yes, I hate to tell you. You've heard of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is probably one of, if not the most famous stock average in the world. It was started 125 years ago, more or less. Nothing. And when the Dow Jones Industrial Average was founded, it had the most astonishing blue chips in America. Everything was the bluest of the blue chip. None of those companies are still in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. None of them. None of them. Even though at the time it was very carefully selected for the best of the best. So don't worry, nothing is going to go on forever. You won't believe this, but Apple's going to disappear someday. He would say, oh my God, you're such an old fool. You guys, you're so old, you don't know anything about anything. And I would say, yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of people, Paul Tudor Jones, you mentioned him, has been playing with investing in and making money in Bitcoin. A lot of people have in cryptocurrencies. A lot of cryptocurrencies have disappeared already, as you well know, so one must be careful. And by the way, money is going to be on the computer, on the internet. There's no question about that. It already is in China. But every country in the world, or nearly every country, is working on computer money, crypto money, call it what you will, and eventually everything's going to be on the computer. And governments love it because first of all, it gives them more control, but second, they don't have to print it. They don't have to transport it. They don't have to secure it. They don't have to, account for it. It's very easy. They love computer money. I hate it. They'll know everything you do. But so there's going to be computer money. Will it be Bitcoin or things like that? In my view, no, because governments don't want to lose their monopoly. And if Bitcoin becomes that successful, they'll outlaw it. They always have. I don't like it, as I say, but they have the guns. I mean, in periods of pure chaos, at times, maybe they're not in control, but in terms of if we have pure chaos, electronic money is not going to be very useful because, first of all, electricity may go down in many places, and second of all, the internet probably will go down in many places for a while. So in chaos, I don't see crypto money being very useful if it gets to that.